The Democrats presenting a compelling case, and they showed a lot of things from the Capitol riot that we hadn't seen before, including security video showing Mitt Romney and Mike Pence getting rushed to safety literally steps away from those rioters. My next guest, he also had a unique perspective, and in captured previously unreleased video, he was part of the group that was being rushed out of the building. I want to bring him in now, Congressman Jim McGovern. He's a Democrat from Massachusetts. He's also chairman of the House Rules Committee. Congressman, I wanted to get into obviously a lot of what we've heard so far today and obviously over the last few days, but I wanted to play a clip that I know you're familiar with. This was House Manager Jamie Raskin after sharing that 13-minute video reminding us what happened on January 6th, talking about his personal experience.
My Chief of Staff, Julie Tagan, was with Tabitha and Hank locked and barricaded in that office. The kids hiding under the desk, placing what they thought were their final texts and whispered phone calls to say their goodbyes. They thought they were going to die. My son-in-law had never even been to the Capitol before. And when they were finally rescued, over an hour later by Capitol officers, and we were together, I hugged them and I apologized, and I told my daughter Tabitha, I told her how sorry I was, and I promised her that it would not be like this again the next time she came back to the Capitol with me. And you know what she said? She said, "Dad, I don't want to come back to the Capitol again."
And Congressman, we were looking at the video that was shown, and it seemed to me that you were one of the last congressmen to actually get out. We've all seen and remembered what it was like during the presentation here of these hearings, but personally, what was it like for you that day?
I'll never forget it. I was in the speaker's chair. I was asked by one of Speaker Pelosi's aides to, if I would mind taking over it, while she had to leave, I thought temporarily. I think she did as well because she left her phone at the speaker's desk. But she was whisked out to a safe location at that time. And then I was told we had to evacuate because it was no longer safe. And so I presided over people leaving the House floor, and they walked out into the speaker's lobby, which is, right outside of the House floor, and they exited. So I was one of the last people out. By the time I got out to the speaker's lobby, I could see this mob had assembled. And I looked into their eyes, and I could see the hate. These people were not protesters. They were not there to make a political statement or hand me a political leaflet. They were there to kill us. They were there to destroy and desecrate the United States Capitol. And shortly after I was able to leave that room, a woman was shot as they were pushing her through the window to try to get access to the House floor. So, I'll never forget that day as long as I live.
In fact, later this program, I'm going to play that 13 minutes again. We live in this attention deficit disorder window of time right now. People need to be reminded, I think. But I want to remind also people, though, when you guys finally came back and every member of Congress saw what happened, the majority of Republicans still wouldn't certify the election. And before all this went down, I want to play the exchange that you had with Jim Jordan, the Republican from Ohio, about the basic reason why those people stormed the building. Let me play it again for our audience.
I'm asking you to make a statement that the election was not stolen, that Joe Biden won fair and square. And, one of the ways to promote healing is for you to say yes and to put that on your Twitter account so that all these people who bought into a lie we'll start hearing from some of the people that were pushing this.
Our concern and why we raised objections was in several states, the rules were changed in unconstitutional fashion.
Still, after everything, after every court case, after seeing it firsthand, my question is, for people who think the fever's going to break when this is finally over and Trump fades into the ether, if that's even going to happen, that's not what you're dealing with on the Hill to this day, is it?
No, and that clip you just played was a Rules Committee meeting, and Jim Jordan was testifying. And he came and said we should put all this behind us and we should be talking about healing and bringing the nation together. And I said, you can help by just saying 5 words. The election was not stolen. That's it. You say it, and I think that will go a long way into helping create a climate where we could start to bring this country together. But the fact that I have colleagues who not only gave oxygen to that big lie, but in the aftermath of what happened on the 6th, where people died, they continue to try to circle the wagons around Donald Trump and protect him when it comes to this big lie. It is really disturbing to me.
The question I get often, and to me, yeah, I might interview them through a box, but you share a room with them. Do they believe this BS? And I ask it in this context. Some of the same people who've been there for a while, they impeached Clinton. And I'm not getting into the merits about whether or not Bill Clinton should or shouldn't, but he lied about an affair with an intern. Cops are dead here. And by the way, we're about $500 million in terms of making a fortress out of the Capitol and state capitals across the country because the president keeps lying about, or the former president, about an election. And the guys that had heart attacks about Kaepernick taking a knee, these guys took the American flag and attacked police with it and tried to kill you guys. My point is, I know there's some true believers, but do some of them, when the cameras aren't around, say, Jim, I'm with you, but I can't vote with you because, I'm going to get primaried? Do they really believe this stuff, or do they defend the president out of political necessity or expediency?
Well, it's a lie. I guess you can convince yourself into believing it. Maybe that's what has happened with Donald Trump, but I think he knows deep down it's a lie. But I've had a lot of conversations with Republican colleagues who, when the cameras are off and, there's no one around, are very frank about the fact that they think that Donald Trump is a dangerous demagogue. They think that, this big lie he pushed about the election is in fact a big lie. It doesn't matter, quite frankly, at the end of the day, whether you are a true believer or whether or not you're just going along to get along. At the end of the day, the result is the same. You were voting you voted to delegitimize a legitimate election. You voted to take away the voice of the American people. You voted basically to give credence to this coup. And so there's no excuse for it.
And that brings me to my final question, which is, I believe, like you, sooner rather than later, a lot of this stuff is going to come out, even stuff we don't know. But there seems to me some questions that even for the skittish might push them over the side to say this is a bridge too far. Namely, was the president warned before January 6th by intelligence about the real domestic terror threat that this gathering posed? And if he knew, obviously he didn't change the rhetoric he said that day. Who changed the permit to go from an event that allowed them then to march up to the Capitol? Did the RNC, as Michael Steele alleges, did they actually fund people to come to this event? And then on the day of the attacks and the riots, when you guys were running for your lives, what was the president's actual reaction? We've said press accounts, and when was he asked to send the National Guard, and when finally did he finally accede to it? My point is, I know Mark Short and I know Vice President Pence, people have thought about, even if need be, subpoenaing them to testify. Do you think we need to hear from witnesses? I know the political appetite's low on both sides for that, but do you think we'll regret it if we don't?
Well, it'll be up to the House managers what they do in this impeachment trial. But I think, I think it's important to hear from people who have firsthand knowledge. We are going to move forward in creating a commission, an independent commission, to look into all of this, which I will hopefully have subpoena power and be able to bring additional witnesses to the table so we can hear firsthand. But look, we know that the FBI. Alarm bells were going off in the FBI because people who were on their watch lists, people who were affiliated with these extreme right-wing groups, were all getting on trains and driving to Washington, D.C. So we knew the makeup of the audience that was coming to hear Donald Trump. I told my staff not to come in that day. Most members of Congress told their staff not to come in that day because we were told that it might be dicey to get in and out of the building. We were also told that the National Guard would be on call. Donald Trump didn't call the National Guard. Mike Pence did, but it was well into this insurrection. He stood back while his own vice president could have been murdered, not to mention all the other people. The only people who would probably be protected would be like the Lindsey Grahams or the Ted Cruzes or the Josh Hawleys, who, if they came face to face with that mob, would have been cheered, would have been embraced. The rest of us would have been killed. And the thing I worry about today is that some Republicans will, no matter what, will never vote to convict. But by not voting to convict, they are risking that this happens again. And I think it was Ted Lieu who said, I'm not worried about Donald Trump running for president again and winning. I'm worried about Donald Trump running for president again and losing and having this happen again. So, this is very much about the future.
Congressman McGovern, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All the best.
And when we come back, we will play the video that the Congressman and I were just discussing, showing just how violent the Capitol riot was and how close the mob got to the lawmakers.